What if I told you that the poorest man in the city once held the key to success, but he never knew it until one stranger changed his destiny forever? Every morning, beneath the scorching sun and the restless crowd, sat an old beggar named Raghav. His clothes were torn, his hair unkempt, and his bowl barely collected a few coins each day. People passed by him like he was invisible, some pitied him, some ignored him, and some even insulted him. But what no one knew was that Raghav hadn't always been poor. He once dreamt big as a young boy, believing he would build a great life. But as failures came, one after another, he slowly gave up, not on his dreams but on himself. And that's how he ended up on the streets, not because life defeated him, but because his mind accepted defeat. One afternoon, as usual, he stretched out his hand for alms. A well-dressed man stopped in front of him, holding a cup of tea. Raghav expected money. Instead, the man looked straight into his eyes and said with a calm smile, "Tell me, old man, if I refuse to give you money today but offer you advice instead, will you take it?" Raghav was stunned. No one had ever spoken to him like that, not with kindness, not with curiosity. His weak voice trembled as he replied, "Advice? What can advice fill in an empty stomach?" The man sat beside him and said softly, "An empty stomach can be filled once, but an empty mind stays empty forever." Raghav frowned at the stranger's words. No one had ever spoken to him with such depth. People usually tossed coins at him without making eye contact, as if he were just part of the pavement. Yet here was this man, in polished shoes and a crisp suit, choosing to sit beside him like an equal. The stranger continued, "You think you are poor because you have no money. But I've seen rich men with empty minds too, men who have everything yet still feel like beggars inside. Poverty is not in your bowl, it is in your mindset." Raghav looked away, embarrassed. He didn't understand everything, but deep down, something stirred. For years, he blamed fate, society, and his past for his condition. But never once had he questioned his own beliefs. The man pointed at the busy market street nearby. Every shop there began with just an idea. Every businessman started with nothing but effort. Yet here you are, fully capable, with 2 hands and a thinking brain, begging for what others create. A strange silence fell between them. The man reached into his pocket. Raghav expected money at last. But instead, the stranger pulled out a small notebook and a pen. He placed them in Raghav's hands and said firmly, "Starting today, write 1 skill you can learn, 1 task you can do, and 1 person you can help. If you do this daily, I promise, your life will change." Raghav stared at the notebook as if it were a jewel. No one had ever given him anything to build with, only leftovers to survive on. Before leaving, the man said one last sentence that echoed in Raghav's mind for days. Were noisy, the air was cold, but his mind was burning. He kept staring at the notebook. For the first time in years, his thoughts were louder than his hunger. "What can a beggar like me even write?" he mumbled. His hands trembled as he opened the first page. Slowly, with crooked writing, he scribbled. "Skill to learn, selling. Task to do, help the tea seller clean his stall. Person to help, myself." The next morning, he didn't sit in his usual begging spot. Instead, he walked to a nearby tea stall owned by a friendly old man named Karim. Raghav offered to clean the cups and arrange the tables in exchange for a cup of tea. Karim laughed in surprise but agreed. Within an hour, Raghav felt something he hadn't felt in years, useful. Day by day, he continued. He swept floors, carried crates, wiped tables, anything he could do in return for food instead of coins. And every night, he wrote in the notebook. His list started growing. Skill to learn, weighing vegetables. Task to do, help the fruit vendor organize his baskets. Person to help, the blind beggar across the street. One morning, as he helped Karim wash glasses, a customer asked, "Is this your stall?" Raghav froze. For a moment, he wished it were true. He smiled weakly and replied, "Not yet, but one day." Those words shocked even him. Not yet. It was the first time he had spoken like a man with a future.